Okay, welcome to State of Play. And indeed, it is one of those days when we need to have a conversation about ourselves. Everybody listening to us right now, I'm hoping that you're a worker. You work somewhere. If you're not a worker, then you're unemployed. And yesterday, as we heard from the Statistical Service, those of you who are not working, it is a sad thing. And you know the part that really worried me when I listened to the breakdown? This huge number of young people, youth, they are not only unemployed, but they are not in training, they're not in school, they are not training to get employed. So that group of people is a huge number. In fact, it puts it at 2.5 million young people. So they have absolutely no hope of getting employment. That was very sad indeed to hear. I don't know if you follow the statistics.
No, I followed. 25% of the youth not in any form of training, and they're unemployed and all of that. Yes, but that's worrying, Evans. But you see, to be very honest with you, I'd expect everybody to try and get some training, and at the end of the day, get some employment. Because no matter how much money I give you, it wouldn't be enough for you.
But the question is it their fault, or the system had made it almost impossible to get into this position where they can even train for something?
Well, you see, when the economy expands, when there's growth, and there's growth in real sectors of the economy, it is such that you have no choice but to expand too as a business. Mm-hmm. And when you expand as a business, you have to employ. Okay? When you expand as a business, you have to employ. And that's the reality. Mm-hmm. So when you're not expanding, you're contracting as businesses. You cannot employ, you lay off workers. It is the reason during COVID-19, government tried to give people funds so that at least they will not contract, or so that they can at least pay workers so that you don't have people going home. That notwithstanding, the Statistical Service told all of us that about 2/3 of our population are yet to return to their previous income before COVID-19. So that is always a problem. And that's where the problem is. Look, while we talk about, we're growing, really, where's the growth coming from? Commodities? Is that the kind of growth we want as a people? So when you see growth in the commodities, and you see that because of that you're doing very well, what does that tell you in the first place? How many people can you employ in those sectors? How many people can you employ in those sectors?
Very limited. You need the private sector to grow.
And you see why when you constantly hear government saying, we employ this number of people, we employ that number of people. Look, government.
It's not a sustainable way of doing it.
It's not sustainable.
Okay, so here's the flip side to it. So that's a story of those who aren't working. Mm-hmm. Now, let's focus on the side of those who are working, right? That's the conversation today. Labor versus government. Is it the case of monkey they work, baboon they chop? And this is coming on the back of the May Day celebration. And the TUC boss was very frank. He had the president in his sights. And the president was seated there. And he kept delivering job after job, from stopping the National Cathedral
for a national hospital.
National hospital.
Cutting down the size of
government. Article 71 office holders, scrapping. And he kept going and going and going. And you can't help but look at that and ask the question. As we mark this Workers' Day in the context of Ghana, who really, because the workers will tell you, they are really the engine of the way this government works, right? Defining government broadly to mean including the public servants and etc. Workers, without them, really the economy grinds so hard. There's a reason why when the workers threaten to go on strike, government quickly moves to
when the workers don't touch
because they shut down. I can imagine all the teachers in this country, and that's the point. Our children are being taught by these workers,
of course,
right? They make our lives better. But then you have to ask yourself: are we rewarding them the way we are rewarding the politicians who they employ? And if you put in a bigger context, all citizens, we give the employment, we employ these politicians, right? So when you employ somebody, do you pay the person more than you pay yourself?
Well, it depends on what the person is doing. If the person's responsibilities are such that you can't do without him, you pay him more than you pay yourself. You have businesses, that have some employees earning more than the employer. It happens, for instance. You know, in some
but that's very rare.
Oh, it's rare, but in some industries, you can have, you know, some of the employees earning more.
How? As a salary?
Oh, as a salary, yes.
Like what? I'll go there right now.
You go there right now.
I want to go and work there.
Oh no, but you know, for instance, that look at these guys who had I've forgotten the name. I'm going to get that name for you. These guys who had a prank gone bad on the BBC. Is it Jonathan Ross or something?
Yeah.
Or Russell or whatever. You know, those guys.
Yeah.
They're earning millions of pounds. Okay. More than some of the bosses in there. They're earning millions of pounds.
So let's go to the facts. So the question we're asking, right? So I pulled up some of the data just to try and understand: is this relationship? Does a relationship balance? Right? This is what they say, no balance. So look at what the facts say. We celebrate May Day, and if you listen to the president painted a picture of a government that has done so much for labor that labor necessarily will not even have a basis to complain. He says government is committed to protecting incomes and pensions. So that's his first word. They've given them 15% COLA. They've increased minimum wage by 10%. Base pay has gone up by 30%. Monthly pensions increased by 25%. I mean, those are all facts. But what he doesn't mention is the beast called inflation.
Yeah.
The beast called inflation. Now, that beast called inflation has led to a situation where all these improvements that the government says they've done for the workers have been eroded. So, I'll walk you through it. If you take the Ghana Statistics, they did the previous report that talked about, the various salaries, the highest, the lowest, and I was going to use that, and then the median, the average. The lowest that they put up was 418 cedis. That's the lowest. So there's somebody today who is working in the public service who is earning 418 cedis. Now, if you take that person and you factor in inflation, that man is going home with 185.4 cedis. 185. But your favorite fufu joint, but you know the place.
See.
If you go and sit there, why do you want to talk? Let me talk. Let me finish my talk. Why are you uncomfortable? But go eat fufu.
Oh, fufu.
You eat fufu 200 cedi.
No, I haven't eaten 200 cedis.
Oh,
Oh no, the last time I made a mistake.
The one that is the.
No, the last time I made a mistake. The last time I made a mistake and ordered snails, I paid 160 or so. I haven't done that mistake.
But there's a certain joint that is the one that you abandoned.
You see, Sami Odami and I ate fufu and we paid 320.
Hey, and
then we realized we made a mistake. We asked them, they said it was a snail. I haven't made that mistake again.
So the point I'm making to you is that your money that you chop one afternoon, that is somebody's real salary.
Which I haven't repeated.
That is somebody's real salary.
Yeah.
Today, inflation.
Yeah.
The average salary is 2,594. That person's real salary is 1,167 cedis. That is what and this is the cost of mismanaging the economy. This is the cost of mismanaging the economy.
And once you
the bedding on the worker.
Once you raise this point, it gets me into a certain position. Okay. So I am the worker. I have to buy fuel. Inflation is eating my salary. What perks are attached to my work? That's the first question you ask yourself. So, I mean, I'm complaining. Okay. You are my employee. I pay tax and I say, come and do this for me. You could say, well, you're also working. Fine. Let's look at it carefully. Government said we have reduced our salaries by 30%. What is the average salary of a government appointee?
Ministers
on the average are earning 28,000 Ghana cedis. 28,000 Ghana cedis. Okay. Now that 28,000 Ghana cedis that is not the end of it.
Yeah.
He lives in a government apartment or government bungalow, government house.
That's
his utility bills paid for by the government.
That's true.
There are some of these ministers who are actually provided food by the government.
That's 3.
Drinks by the government. Fuel coupons by the government.
That's 4.
Now you ask yourself.
You have gardeners.
You have gardeners. Everything. You have security persons. Now ask yourself. All of these cater.
You have rent.
Yeah. Oh, that's yes. He doesn't pay rent, so he lives in a government. Yeah. Now, I mean, you have to pay your rent. You have to pay for your utilities, and at the end of it, you also would have to pay taxes on everything that you buy. The question is, am I better off? Now, I am not against the payment of taxes, not at all. But I am also not against, I'm also against, the profligate expenditure. How we use our taxes anyhow is of concern to me. So this afternoon, I want us to be very clear here. If you look at it on the face of the pink sheet, we are working.
For them to chop.
For them to chop. They're enjoying life.
And let's back that with a bit more facts. I want to go to the 2016 comparative analysis that was done, but on the single spine policy as against the Article 71 office holders. And this is the 2020 Emoluments Committee. The analysis they did, right? Now, it says that for the Article 71 office holder, the average salary was 18,000. This is the back then, right? Based on the 2016 analysis, was 18,211 cedis. For the single spine salary guy, the majority of our workers, the thousands and thousands of the workers who are grinding in the hospitals, exposed to all these diseases, in the classrooms teaching our children, the average is 1,128.
1,000%.
The difference,
more than 1,000.
The difference is 17,088 cedis.
More than 1,000%.
Winston, and that is the average.
More than 1,000%.
Let's go to the highest NS. The highest NS, Article 71 office holder, is 29,809. We know that these numbers have gone up. That's why I kept on mentioning the time. So you appreciate that this is not the current, but this is just back then. The highest earner is 29,899. For the single spine salary guy, the highest is taking, and again, according to 2020 Emolument Committee, of 4,328 cedis. The difference there is 25,571. So now let's go to least earner. This is the part that you may possibly cry. Least earner, Article 71 office holder, 11,661. And Charlie, look, we have to be honest. A lot of these folks were our friends.
Oh yeah.
We are friends when they were possibly in opposition. Charlie, we used to eat fufu and things together in chop bars. I'm not kidding. Oh, I know one person who I went years ago, went to some chop. He took me some chop bars. Charlie, chop bar, yeah. Are we safe? But I asked because me, Charlie, today, he is taking Sikadosopo. Me, my salary, they catch in this is and it's not like he has some special skills. No. Right? Just because he decided to go into politics, just because he decided to run maybe for a parliamentary seat somewhere and wore a colors of one political party, that came into power. Instantly, he earns more than me. Instantly, he gets all the perks that you need to begin to. Where is the meritocracy?
You see, even is another thing. Also, not this country that the president says he won't take disloyalty, that he believes in loyalty.
Well.
You know what the president said?
That's a whole different conversation.
But that's what he said.
That's what he said, yeah.
No, he says he believes in loyalty. He didn't say he believes in competence. He says he believes in loyalty. No matter how competent you are, you must be loyal first. That's how you get a job in this country. That's how you get a job in government. And it's obvious. We've seen it. We've seen the president in his first term rewarding regional chairman with regional ministers, constituency chairman with MMDCs. So, there's no two ways about it. That's how this country is being run these days. You just would need to belong to a political party, be as vociferous as you can be, and hope that your party wins. And then if your party wins, bingo, you smile.
It's a luxury, man.
And so that worker who's there, and you see, you can understand why the workers are always complaining, because they see these figures. Now look, if I am buying fuel, and sometimes the people you see who are parking at the filling stations, and they pull out the coupons, and you look at them and you say, hey. So when you talk about fuel, nobody understands.
No, this guy, and there's something that the workers have been saying, that we focus on Article 71 office holders, but they say that actually, when you go to the ministries, there are aides.
Oh yes,
aides, a special assistant to something, and all manner of creative titles have been given to them.
I'll tell you something.
And they are drawing facts.
I'll tell you something. Years ago, I interviewed one of my mates from university. And, once he sat in front of me, he said something. He said, "Oh, my brother, I know a lot of people don't know that we're mates and we're all involved in student activism. You decided to continue by being a journalist. I decided to carry mine to the national politics, and I'm here and we are talking." That was my mate. He was a minister at the time. And he was telling me, "Oh, you decided to do that." And I decided to go the other way around.
Yeah, you decided to be poor.
Yes, it was a choice I made. He decided to get into national politics.
He's telling you.
Yeah, and look, that's how it's become.
Yeah.
And so today, you can understand the workers, their condition, and you see, and that's when Labour says something. As the president, if inflation doesn't go down, we'll come back for more salary.
Exactly. And it'll be legitimate. After this, to you.
You see, this is the point. And for those of us in the private sector, if you cannot go and demonstrate, for those in government, don't go and demonstrate.
Yeah.
Because they see it.
You made a point. Last time, I got a formula for calculating the impact of inflation on my salary. And I took it and I put my salary in there.
Yeah.
Hey, Winston, have you done it?
I don't like making myself unhappy. I say, life is too short to be unhappy.
When I did it, and I was doing it on my phone. I was hiding the phone because I didn't want. And I saw my real income.
Yeah, it's minimum. I mean,
I kept on asking myself, so how am I surviving to the end of the month? I mean, you saw my Uber car that I've been driving.
Yeah.
Hey, to be hard.
And you see, when you talk about these things, even when you say, for instance, that, the last time I was complaining about, buying fuel. And you see, it got to a point where we were buying fuel at about 20 Ghana cedis, almost about 20 Ghana cedis. And at that point in time, it was that bad. Today, you hear the government saying, we've been able to reduce fuel prices. It used to be 23, now it's around 12 and 13. And that's what saddens me. That your mismanagement of the economy. Because you see, they say that when the economy is bad, the exchange rate will expose you.
Yeah.
When you do propaganda with the economy, the exchange rate will expose you. So my question is, today, has the exchange rate exposed the NPP? Has it?
I think it follows.
Yes, because look, as it stands today, now, crude oil prices on the world market are hovering around 80 something, about 80. But what do we see? What do we see? What do we see? You remember, in the build-up to the 2008 elections, when crude oil prices had risen to some 147 Ghana cedis. You know how much we're selling a gallon of fuel?
Tell me.
5 cedis.
Wow.
5 cedis. Not a liter, a gallon.
Those were the days.
Gallon, 5 cedis. Gallon, 5 cedis. That's how we're selling a gallon. You know why? Because the exchange rate had not exposed us.
Yeah.
Today, let us go to 147. We'll run away from this country. That's because the exchange rate has exposed us. And that's because we have underperformed. And that is our reality. And so, I side with the workers. Look, the baboon is eating. They are suffering. Today, as it stands, there cannot be any justification for ex gratia.
But they will pay.
Yeah, but there cannot be. You see, there cannot be. If we continue like that, you realize that you see, where the masses are not taken care of, those who have are not safe.
Oh, of course. One day they'll eat you alive.
Exactly.
When you're hungry.
You're not safe. So don't pretend that you're safe and then you give them handouts and you think that's the end of the world. No, you're not safe.
But that for me is the biggest concern I have.
You're not safe.
On the back of where we are currently. With the way workers, and for me, I drive home every day. You know where I stay. I stay in the forest. I drive home every day. And I pass in my community and I see people who, they're struggling, they're working, they're breaking their backs. And then they see a friend of theirs or a minister on television. And for me, the part that I find criminal is that the sensitivity of our political appointees to the situation sometimes even not there. Mm-hmm. So we are in this terrible, precarious economic situation that they've created. And yet, we still find them flaunting it, right?
Yeah.
Throwing it in our faces all the time. And so you begin to, there was a minister who was appointed recently. And I was having a conversation before it was confirmed. I said, Charlie, bro, this appointment is going to worry him. He doesn't believe that there's a justification for him to be given that position now. It's not a question of whether he is competent or not. This is somebody whose conscience was beginning to prick him. That when everybody else is struggling, this position is an added burden. You're going to give me a car, you get some Prado, the least, to get a saloon car. In addition, only you have two. Yeah, right? He has to fuel it. And he was struggling with those demons and having a conversation with me. But you can't go and say you don't take it. Well, right? Or maybe he should have said no. Principle. Look, let me set an example. But of course, in Ghanaian politics, when you do that, you have finito. But that for me told me a story that even for those appointees now, there's a part of them that know, including this government, many of them, that know that what the current state of affairs where there is this them and us that they've created is very dangerous. Yeah. It's extremely dangerous. And for me, that is the thing that I worry about the most. Because you hear these workers. 2 days ago, I was on PM Express with the Deputy Secretary General of the TUC, who kept making the point that they've been asking government to downsize and downsize and downsize, and they've not been listening. And that as we speak, the TUC is in active conversations among itself and planning what to do to force the government to do exactly that. And I was listening to him and I was asking myself, any government with intelligence, in terms of the security, and maybe even not really intelligence, just if you answer, will know that you don't have to wait for this thing to explode. You don't have to wait for this to explode to get it under wrap. And I'm asking myself, what will it cost to order all ministers? And Senator Osi was making another point to me on PMS last time. Like a colleague of his was on a flight to South Africa. This is a 5-hour flight. And there's this government appointee who was sitting in business class. Yeah. Right? And he wasn't sitting in business class alone. He was there with 2 assistants.
Oh, you're not the same.
So,
are you the same? Like, are you the same?
I am not.
Yes,
but common sense will tell you that this economic crisis we are in, you are sitting in a flight from Ghana to SA, which means that there are Ghanaians on the flight, plenty of them.
Yes.
And you decide to flaunt it in their faces. You don't only sit in the business class alone, you sit there with your assistants.
I mean, because
why?
No, because you see, because for him, he has done the work already.
Because what? Campaigning.
The work is campaign.
The politics. Okay.
The work is campaign. If you are there, you are complaining. He has done the work already. So right now it's time for him to enjoy, because he knows that all things being equal, after 4 years, 8 years, maybe 12 years, if his party is lucky and is able to break the 8, but whatever happens, somebody will break the 8 anyway. Yeah. You know what that means? Let me explain before Ghanaians say I'm saying something. Whatever happens, NPP says they want to break the 8. If Mahama wins, they're also breaking the 8. You understand? Whatever happens, somebody will break the 8. So whatever happens, somebody will break the 8. Let me just put that on there. I mean, I just said that by way of, But look, that man thinks that he's done the work already. So you see, that's the kind of thinking.
And what about the 2 assistants?
They've also done their work already.
Actually,
are we not aware that today in this country there are positions that are meant for politicians? Oh, should I be telling you?
Plenty.
That YEA coordinators, once, and this is how we increase the wage bill. We've appointed YEA coordinators. Some of them will still be there. So you have NADMO, for instance. People will be there, the regional coordinators. Once there's a change in government, regional organizers or whatever, they become NADMO coordinators, regional coordinators. And that's it. Some will become YEA coordinators, regional coordinators, and that is it. They start work as contract staff, then they try and become permanent, so that when you come, you can no longer move them around. But when they come, They also will do what? Because they want to put their persons in there, they tell you that, we're sending you to the headquarters. There's no job to be done. So you're there, you do nothing. That's the sad aspect of this country.
So for me, that is where the tragedy is.
Yeah.
We have a leadership that would want to enjoy whilst their people wallow in poverty and hunger. The workers of this country, for which reason we're still surviving, because if they decide to throw in the towel, this country ceases to exist.
Of course.
And yet, this few group of people, this is a small minority of people, have what's the word? They've managed to almost hoard the goodies and resources for themselves, and the crumbs have gone to the actual workers, and that is a typical George Orwell-ish, situation that we need to fix. And I see many of you, some of them joining me with your own thoughts. Gideon says, we are sick in Ghana. Ghana is built for the politician. The politicians don't care about the poor. And me, I've said in Ghana, let's redefine democracy. Democracy in Ghana is a rule by the politician, for the politician, and of the politician.
It's the rule by the politician who, having gained power, determines what is good for you in order that you maintain him in office so that he will continue chopping.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah. Baba Rufai has a message for you. Nobody is breaking any eight. If NPP try, we will break their legs.
But didn't you understand what I said?
Well, somebody's breaking the eight. Any of them, one person doesn't break the eight.
How break the eight? Whatever happens. Okay, whatever happens. I said, Baba, whatever happens. If Mahama wins, is breaking the eight. If the NPP wins, why won't he break the eight? He will break the eight because then MP will not go beyond 8. He's breaking the other thing. That's the end of it. That's there'll be a breaking. There'll be a break of breaking, yes.
Derek says, I'm sad. Nanado is not thoughtful enough. He says he's careless about our predicaments. Those are his views there. I'll take a few on the Joy 99.7 FM page, and then we'll wrap up. And this one from Citizen Boating, I'm here. What's the topic for today? Well, that's the topic for today.
He missed it.
And I hope you've had a conversation. You have your own verdict on the subject. Enjoy the rest of your evening, people.